Hey guys, Josh Gadamu here. If you could have any color army men, what color would they be? And if you could have any color tanks, what color would they be? Well, good news, I found out how to do that. And it doesn't scratch off, it doesn't flake off, and it doesn't get sticky like paint. In fact, there's no paint required. So you can see I have a Black Ops army of black army men here. I've also got a couple red ones, some more black ones. So things you're going to need to do this. You're going to need some RIT Dymore synthetic. And that could be any color, but you're going to want the synthetic. Don't use the regular, use the synthetic. You're going to need some kind of spoon. You can get these at the dollar store or used at the thrift store. You're going to need a stainless steel pot. Now this one's already been dyed in, but the reason why you want stainless steel is because you can wash it and use it again to make another color. If you use a regular pot from a thrift store that has a non-stick lining or non-stainless steel, aluminum, whatever, then you're going to get the dye stuck in the cracks of the pot. It's not going to come out. Furthermore, in order to wash this pot correctly, you'll need to wash it, fill it with water, boil it, wash it, fill it with water, boil it, wash it, then it's ready to go. That's how you get all the extra dye out. Also, make sure that your lid doesn't have any screw holes or anything. That way no dye gets stuck in there. If you're just going to do this once, you can buy a throwaway pot and lid. But if you're going to do it multiple times, make sure you get something that looks like this. These wash just fine. They might dye the plastic, but once they're washed, they're totally okay. So, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this. Okay, getting ready to dye some army men. And the lighter your army men, the better your chances of getting them in other colors. So dark green is not going to turn red, but you can make them black. So your tan forces are your best. I've got some true heroes here, and I've got some Giroux Timmy knockoffs. Knockoff Timmy Tank. This is kind of a softer plastic. For harder plastic army men, you can add some salt to your mix. We're going to be using the RIT Dymore Synthetic Racing Red. These take really fast, these synthetic ones. You can also use the regular ones. Another thing, if your army men don't take, is you could add acetone to the mix, just a little bit. And you'd want to be dipping them in because that hard plastic will melt with acetone. So we've got these. I've got my station getting ready here. And I don't know if I mentioned it already, but you can get a $10 burner at Bed Bath & Beyond. This one exploded the other day from too much use. You can get it for $10 with free shipping, and it has a 1-year warranty, which I will be claiming. But, 1-year warranty is pretty good. I do this all the time, though. That's why these wear out. If you're just doing it once or twice. But buy an external burner. Get one from the garage sale or something. That's the best thing you can do. Because this does make a mess, as you can tell by this entire station around here. So I have my pot on there. It's warming up. I want to get the water to boiling or simmer. Because I usually work with softer plastics, I have no issues with boiling. So you pour a bunch of water in, you pour in your dye. The key thing to this is keeping water in there. Also, there's a secret ingredient that makes this whole process work. Now, forgive my sloppy cameramanship on this round. A lot of things to hold in place. White distilled vinegar. This makes the whole thing work. You see the steam coming off. That's because it's cold out today. We're at about 30 degrees. Maybe not 30. 35 degrees outside. If you were to do this inside your house, it would absolutely reek. Also, you cannot use these pots again for food, as before stated. Stick our lid on. Oh, looks like I got the wrong size lid for that pot. Oh, I'll just have to find a bigger lid. Anyways, we're going to let it heat up and then get started. Alright. Alright, time to put stuff in. We're not quite boiling, but we're pretty close. So, David, hand me the little people. It's almost winter at this point, so it takes longer to heat up. Now, these are going to come out different shades of red, because they're different base colors. Don't be surprised if your army men float. Take the tank apart and hand it to me. See our soldiers just floating in there. And what decides your color depth is how much dye you use and how long you cook it for. Also remember that the artificial, just rip the top off. Totally works. The artificial dye takes a lot faster than the normal dye. Be brave, David. There you go. Alright. The tank is a little harder to keep pressed down in. Keep that in there. And we're going to handy dandy spoon. You want to stir stuff every once in a while. Now I'm just going to leave mine on boil. You want to leave a little room at the top. That way your pot doesn't just goosh everywhere. Overflows. Stick our lid back on. Now we wait. Okay, so this has been cooking for about 10 minutes. And like I said, the artificial dyes take a lot faster. You could expect this process to take an hour, maybe even, 4 hours tops, depending on what dye you're using, what color you're going for, and color depth. So these have been in for about 10 minutes. This artificial dye works really quickly. These are a lightish red, a little bit pink still in some places. And when we finish these, like this tank, the dye that's sitting on it makes it look red, but the tank's only pink right now. So, it's not done. It's important to check it regularly, though, because your water is going to be boiling out in a continuous way. And so you want to keep a gallon of water nearby, or something like that. I'm trying to find it with my other hand. Oh, no. I got my jug of water here. Just fill it up a little bit. I give it a stir with my spoon, which, is going to be dyed also and not be useful for food. Put those in there. And just put the lid back on and let it cook. Like I said, this, with the artificial, maybe we'll be done in half an hour. But with the non-artificial dyes, we could be here for 2 or 3 hours. So, you need a block of time for this. You want to keep an eye on it. Burners can wear out, you're outside for fire safety and whatnot. But, yeah, pretty easy. Check on it here soon. Okay, so I've been at this for about 2 or 3 hours. This is what I call checking. It's more useful to have a lid like this one that has some depth than this one for this checking method. I'm just going to set that aside. Get our trusty spoon. And for checking, you would get one guy or whatever, and you would put them in your pan. I already tested the guys, though. I know we're good to go. So pretend that I'm just getting one. Well, okay, I guess I should cover checking. So you take your one guy in, you run him under cold water in a steel sink, stainless steel, and if he's good on color and consistent, then you're ready to pull everything. I did that, so the soldiers are ready. I did pull this, and that didn't go so well. Black tanks that I did last time worked pretty good. You're going to have different luck with different plastics. It's time to pull our nice communist soldiers. Well, be careful not to get a bunch of liquid, because we don't want to get dye inside the house. We don't want to get dye on our clothes, etc., etc. Okay, so cleanup time. Fairly simple process. Got the stainless steel sink. Water's not on too high. Like I said, we just take our soldiers and run them under the water. And if it's still got a nice consistent red color, then you're great. You're good to go. And we do. Our tank is getting reddish. Looks like it's taking longer to take the color. It's kind of a salmon, red, pink. It's not quite there. So we're going to have to cook that longer. Top of the tank's coming along very kind of unevenly. That might happen sometimes. That usually means you just need to do it longer, though. Actually, no. The unevenness, that's just dye that baked on top. The whole tank is still rather pink. So the tank's going to take longer. Maybe I'll add some salt just to see if it takes a little bit better. But got a bunch of nice red communist soldiers here. I'm going to scrub them with a toothbrush. And, you know, the ultimate test is to make sure, rub them in your hands, make sure that dye doesn't come off. When you're washing them, you're going to dye your fingers a little bit. It's a pretty straightforward process. We'll cover what they look like when we're done. As you wash your dyes, make sure to put them on something that you won't end up dyeing, as there's still some residual there. I like the wax-coated paper plates. And just set them on there, dump off the water once some of it's settled, and just let them air dry. Alright, so put my tank back in here, added some salt to it, and I just used regular Morton iodized salt. Just poured a bunch in, stirred it up. I also put more vinegar in, as that's, you know, the reactive agent that really helps this tank. Tank is a different plastic, so it's going to take longer. I think when I did the black tanks, it took quite a while. This might have been like a 6-hour type deal. But I do believe this is worth it, because in the end, you have tanks and other vehicles that the color won't scratch off like paint. If you spray painted this, you know, it would either turn sticky or start to scrape off eventually. And with this method, it's not going anywhere. It's already changed in color, you know, but it's kind of a salmon right now. It takes time for the dye to set in and to get those darker colors you want. So you might remember from the beginning I said this can take, you know, 30 minutes to 4 hours. And for some things, you know, it might even take up to 6. But you have something really permanent afterwards. Okay, so here we have the finished product, our Black Death Forces and Communist Special Forces, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, they're ready to go to combat with each other. Lots and lots of fun, and, you know, as stated, the color won't scratch off if you're ready for play or display. And we even got some black tanks here. I decided not to finish the red tank just because I remember doing these black tanks, and it took up to 6 hours. And I wanted to go play video games. And let me tell you, playing video games and having something boil in the pot with dye is a bad idea. It will almost always melt. Because the key to this is add water. Repeat after me, add water. Every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes, you check it, you add water. You stir. And the stirring isn't so much to keep it from melting, because if it's boiling, it's constantly moving. But boiling, you will run out of water, and if you don't keep enough water in there, that's when it goes bad. That's when you'll end up with smoldering plastic at the bottom of your empty pot, just simmering, and it smells so bad, so hard to clean too. One of the useful reasons for doing it outside, just for the record. So always add water. There are some that aren't going to work so great for you. The Timmy brand is not going to work so great even after 6 hours of dyeing. This guy only turned pink, and this guy only turned dark gray rather than black. You can see that like one of these tanks was green, one of them was brown. There's a slight variance in them. You will see slight variances in your soldiers depending if they came from different sets. But our red set looks pretty cohesive, as does our black set. It definitely pulls it off. This way you can have sculpts from set A and set B, you know, and make your own armies pretty much. So it's quite nice. The easiest way to dye these guys is to get the lightest color that you can. And that way you can make this guy blue or gray or whatever. You know, the darker colors, you know, the green army men, like these green guys right here, they're the same as this. I turned them into the black ones. You could have maybe turned them brown or something, but you can only dye darker. Don't leave me comments asking me, how do I make white soldiers? Well, actually, there is a way to do that. You set them in the sun for a year. Make sure to rotate them on a regular basis. Then you will have the lightest color possible, which does have some interesting effects when you dye it afterwards. But that's for, hardcore people. I hope this helps you build your armies. Those unique armies, special forces, whatever. Remember, it works on tanks, but you're going to dedicate most of your day to it. But I don't think it takes too much electricity. It's not very expensive to do. And it's kind of fun, and it's permanent. That's what I love about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And, hey, make a video response to this video. Show me your work. If you try this, and you make a video about it, please send some credit my way. Tell people, hey, I learned this from Joshua Gadamu at Army of Toys on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoyed this. See you later.